This morning we are hanging out with Alex from NEKROGOBLIKON right now. How'd I do with that one, Alex?
I thought it was great. Yeah. You got the inflection perfect, the timing perfect.
Yeah, does everyone tend to start off interviews with NEKROGOBLIKON that way? And if so, how do I rank?
You're the first one actually, at least today. Maybe so far you're number one. If anyone else does it, they have you to beat.
Awesome. So I'm yeah setting the benchmark there. So yeah, Alex, the reason we're talking today, right now, no, I promise I won't do that again. I will slap on the overlay text though, man. I just gotta.
Awesome. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm always encouraged.
It's because, yeah, NEKROGOBLIKON is finally making its way to Australia. And you are coming with, yeah, another band, ALESTORM. How did that tour come together?
I think with this came from the promoter. I think we've been trying to get out to Australia for a long time now, and yeah, it's still after being a band for what 17 years, so this is gonna be our first time there. So I think our manager was in touch with a promoter in Australia and just like, hey, we got to get these guys out here, and he finally said like, hey, we have Ailstorm coming and we need an opener, and this is like that goes really well together, and so it was kind of a no brainer. And we had toured with Ailstorm together in the States in 2016, and that tour went great, and the shows were super fun. It was went really well. So doing Australia with them felt like just no brainer. We're like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so ALESTORM, obviously pirate metal, ale in the name.
Hmm.
Uh, NEKROGOBLIKON aren't too shy from having, let's say, straight up drug and alcohol influences in film clips. I mean, based off those clips, it looks like John in particular can really put it away. It's
Oh yeah.
good to see. It's good to see that you or hear that you have already toured with them before, so I guess you maybe know a little bit about what to expect. Do you think these shows are going to end up being quite messy for you, or are you putting some sort of planned process in line? Are there some lines already drawn, some
uh,
limits set?
I mean, it's definitely not that we don't partake, but we definitely exaggerate our level of party for because the show is the party, really. That's the level, that's the point of most energy of the night. So it's like we bring that party energy really to the show. And after the show, we're a little boring, like we're just hanging out on our phones. We'll have we'll tie one over every now and then, and party, but like it's like it all that party energy really like goes to the show, and it goes to like because that's when everyone else is in the room with us. That's then they're drinking and we're having a good time, and we've been known to crack a few beers on stage, and join in with the crowd. But that's the party for us, is that show. Usually it's we hang out, we have fun, but that's where we it's like a concentrated effort of party into that moment. So you'd think that it's like, oh, these guys just like fucking party, and then they just randomly come on stage, and then that's just what they're like. And maybe some truth to that, but it's definitely it's not as fun backstage as you'd think with bands like ours.
So you're kind of doing the reverse mullet, where it's a party up front, but
Yeah.
business out the back.
A little bit party in the back still, but
Got some length there.
yeah. But there's more party up front.
For my experience with NEKROGOBLIKON, yeah, I've known of you guys for quite some time, kicking off obviously with the big viral video that you guys put out, what, as you said, 13, 14 years ago?
Yeah, that was 2012 when we dropped the No One Survives video. So that was so 12 years ago now.
So again, on my side of it, it was like, yeah, sick band, awesome film clip, funny goblin guy, ha ha. Honestly, didn't personally follow much of your career too deeply after that, but then getting this opportunity to interview, obviously, you start diving in, doing a bit more research, and I kind of wasn't, yeah, prepared for the sort of whole NEKROGOBLIKON world that I fell into, especially with the. I don't even want to say it right now. I'll just do the hand
Yeah.
gesture because I think I've already already played that out of it. But yeah, I was like, I ended up just watching so many episodes and so many sick guests coming on your shows, and that has kind of been done in seasons and looks like it's sort of kicking off a bit more. How involved with right now are you personally?
So I'm involved with that with Brandon Dermer, who kind of created the character, and Dave Rispoli, who also writes the character, plays the character on the podcast. And so it's the three of us who've done the are in on the podcast. And obviously it's a shared world with the band, but those two guys as comic writers and as comedians, like they're like additional bandmates that just aren't, like are they're kind of behind the scenes, but they're so much a part of what makes the whole Necro world, cohesive, and obviously now fronted by John Goblikon. So so we coordinate it all together, but it's quite the village we have in the Necro world, pushing this crazy goblin agenda we have.
And there's still so many more episodes sitting there waiting for me to watch. So I'm really, yeah, getting back into the music, discovered this whole world of the podcast side of it as well. Um, Sorry, my screen's just decided to tell me it wants to do some maintenance, which is always awesome. You can do that later. It's fancy new high-tech screen shit where it wants to run maintenance schedules right in the middle of an interview. Awesome.
This seems like a good time.
Yeah, exactly. You're not doing anything important,
Yeah,
are you? I'll just cover your screen with this whole giant message about how your screen's going to blow up if it doesn't go into a maintenance schedule. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah. So, yeah, with right now and the guests, how are you finding with getting guests on the show? Basically, are you actively going out and looking for certain people, or are you just finding like your inbox keeps blowing up with people that want to come in and have a chat with John Goblikon?
It's because we're just started the podcast. Like the first episode aired 2 months ago. So it started out with a lot of outreach, and some of them were people that had been on the Right Now series before that we're talking to. Some of them are connections through them. Uh, uh, Dave and Brandon have a lot of connections existing in the comedy world, so so it's some people they already have worked with. But right now we're starting to see it churn into just in these 2 months of us putting up weekly podcasts. We're now getting the requests as well. We're like, okay, well, now these people are interested, so we're, the team is kind of divvying that out, scheduling it and everything. But it's growing very rapidly, like way more than we could have expected, which is awesome. So
I'm subscribed, so I'll definitely be catching these
awesome.
guests as they come in. Yeah, it's always seems to be a very wild ride on that podcast. So yeah, great work on that one. I've got a mate named Jake who is a huge fan of you guys. Shout out to Metal Music Discovery Australia Reborn, quite a handle on that group.
Nice.
He leads that one. So when I knew I had the opportunity to have a chat with you, of course I had to reach out to somebody who I know was a rabid fan. And yeah, Jake had a couple of questions. The first
Okay.
one's just goblins, which is kind of vague. But to extrapolate on his question, how do you keep the goblin shtick fresh? I know from watching the NEKROGOBLIKON that it said that originally like it was just a random idea for the band and none of you were sort of deep into the lore, as it were. But how do you find you keep it up? Are you now deep in the lore? Are you like you fielding a Warhammer army or anything?
It's we're in the lore of John Goblikon, essentially one particular goblin. So when we, and as you saw in the documentary, we didn't John was not a member of the band for the first like 5 years. We were 5-6 years. We were just a band. We're just a bunch of guys who thought it'd be funny to write and play metal songs about goblins. But then when we met, John Goblikon caught us at a tiny show in front of 10 people, and John Goblikon decided I need to join this band after seeing that. And then so the lore kind of has become about, it's not about, it is about goblins in general, but it's through the eyes of John Goblikon, and it's through it, and it's kind of rather than being more about fantastical lore, it's this creature this character that comes from that world but is adapting to human society through the eyes of someone from that, but it is not surrounded by any other fantastical creatures here, and is kind of, so it's about it. So it kind of is, the lore is kind of the story of him navigating this world a goblin who's not really fitting in, a fish out of water, and kind of an observation of humans and kind of making fun of them and making fun of what makes humans tick is kind of that's the lore that's kind of we've built with it, where yeah, it's even though and you know we're fans of that world too, but what this specifically is, and as opposed to other kind of fantasy metal bands in that world, is we're more about uh, these two worlds that kind of feel like they don't belong together. This normal just normal day in the life of people doom scrolling Instagram, going to a job they hate. But it's a goblin. It's John Goblikon having to do all these things as as an outsider and not quite fitting in at any point.
Yeah, that's a sort of really cool philosophy and angle to look at it with. And you mentioned there about, yeah, two worlds that don't belong together. But I'll tell you what, Alex, there are two worlds that do belong together, and that's NEKROGOBLIKON in Australia next year in March. We're psyched to have you here. Any final words before we have to wrap this up because we are out of time?
Oh wow, already. Yeah, I'm well, very excited to play Australia for the first time. Can't wait. I have a feeling that this is going to go so well that we'll be back very shortly. That's a hunch. It's a hunch, but I feel like that's what's going to happen.
All right, well, we'll take that with a grain of salt then.
Right. Yeah, you never know, but I'm just one dumb human, but
In the Goblin's world. Well, thanks so much again, Alex, for hanging out with us today. And yeah, we'll see you next year.
all right, see you then, man.